Well, if you're into big pharma conspiracies, boy oh boy do I have one for you here, and it's true. So Sharon Lerner of The Intercept says, remember the pill Merck sold to the U.S. government for 40 times what it cost to make? It's way less effective than we thought when we paid $1.2 billion for it, reducing hospitalizations and deaths by 30%, not 50%. So she's talking about molnupiravir. That's the name of the drug. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. Now, the Daily Beast also said, same day, an expert advisory panel for the FDA narrowly voted to endorse the authorization of Merck's COVID-19 oral pill for high-risk adults. Look at what it says underneath, though. Quote, the efficacy of this product is not overwhelmingly good, one expert on the advisory panel said. The panel itself is like, this stuff isn't all that good, but we approve it. You approve it? It's not all that good, but you approve it. It has a 30% success rate, and you approve it. Why would you approve it if it has a 30% success rate? 30%. Is that even statistically significant? I mean, maybe it is, but if it is, it barely is. 30% success rate. And why'd you approve it? You wonder why people have an issue with how comfy and cozy Big Pharma is with the government. You wonder why. People look at the way the system works and they go, that's interesting. Merck and Pfizer and GlaxoSmithKline and Johnson & Johnson and all these other pharmaceutical companies, looks like they gave millions and millions of dollars to politicians and their campaigns and the Democratic Party campaign and the Republican Party campaign. And they're spending a lot of money on politics. And wow, would you look at that? Now the government is making decisions that seem to be very favorable on the side of Big Pharma. It's okay. I'm sure there's no conflict of interest that's leading them to make bad decisions. That's literally exactly what's going on here. Guys, okay. Taxpayers funded through university research. Emory was one of the places, but I think there were others as well. Taxpayers funded the creation of this pill. So you and I paid for it up front for the research and development. Then a pharmaceutical company swoops in, buys up the rights to the pill, jacks it up 40 times what it costs to make, sells it back to the government for that amount of money. It's got 30% efficacy, and they just get it approved, and they're probably going to make a fucking killing on the pill that barely works. What these people need to understand is you jackasses undermine faith in the entire system by doing stuff like this. Any reasonable person is going to look at this set of facts and go, whoa, I'm on my own, aren't I? Now I need to, quote unquote, do my own research. And by the way, that's a terrifying prospect because a lot of people don't know how to do their own research. And they'll end up on some Reddit thread where they finally end up with Alex Jones selling colloidal silver or some bullshit. But you guys are the spark for it. You guys are the reason people ended up going down that pipeline. You have yourself to blame. Look in the mirror. When the government is shown over and over to lie, to be wrong, to take no accountability, no responsibility, and then they don't even own up to it if they're wrong. Remember early on in the pandemic when Fauci was like, you don't have to wear a mask? There's never a reckoning with this shit. Every step of the way, everything they say is supposed to be viewed as gospel. And if you disagree, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist. Well, the plain facts on their face show that this is an open conspiracy theory. Big Pharma gives money to the government. Now the government's giving them favorable treatment and approving a pill that's 30% effective. And we paid for the research and development up front, which means on the back end, we should be getting it for a discounted price, but we didn't. We got it jacked up 40 times more. And then, by the way, if you go and get the pill, they'll charge you even more when you're there. They have themselves to blame for the total distrust in institutions. It's your own fault. It's your own fault. Every step of the way. They lied us into wars. And now they just do openly corrupt transactions which lead to terrible decisions. And then they bash you over the head and call you a conspiracy theorist when you look at it and start to question stuff. Well, this is why you guys have now made a thriving industry of con men and frauds and charlatans who sell fake answers. But these Charlatans come across as more trustworthy than you with your entire bullshit system and the way you've built it. Anybody can see through this shit. Anybody can see through it. And by the way, I'll go a step further. I think this undermines the correct position that the vaccine works. By the way, what happened with... So they said, oh, it's X amount effective. It's pretty effective. The numbers early on were promising. But of course, those studies were funded, at least in part, by the pharmaceutical company itself. Oh, would you look at that? You juiced the numbers because you were the ones who were funding the study. So in other words, you're not doing real science, you're doing junk science. So that was false. Then when we finally get some independent research, 30% effective. Now, why is the vaccine still the correct answer and it's legitimate? Well, guys, a lot of the studies have not been funded by industry. Some of them were early on, but now we have independent verification, which is why I always bring up that French study of over 20 million people, 20 million, and vaccines reduce severe illness, hospitalization, and death by 90%. So, point is, you should be skeptical, but don't let your skepticism become cynicism, and certainly don't let your cynicism become stupidity. Okay? But the vaccine is the answer, but because of the bullshit that they do with stuff like this, they are undermining the vaccine as well. Because a lot of people will look at stuff like this and go, well, I guess the fucking vaccine is bullshit too, because they lied to me about this. Why wouldn't they lie to me about that as well? And it's your own goddamn fault. Listen, people have agency. I'm not trying to take it away from them. You are individually responsible for learning about these things and evaluating the evidence in an honest way. You are responsible for that. But at the same time, I have no problem at all saying they sparked the entire problem by being so dishonest, so corrupt, so absurd on their face, and being smug about it all the way. Wagging their finger at anybody else and calling them conspiracy theorists if, they don't sign on immediately to every single fucking declaration they make, when this is the kind of declaration. We're going to prove this even though it's 30% effective. What? If there wasn't that conflict of interest in that close financial relationship, do you think they would have approved this drug? I think you know the answer to that question. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.